Yes, it is that time of year again, the season of holiday and cheer, when snow is falling and we get to put up the Christmas tree. I love winter. I love Christmas. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! But it's also time when we reviewers get to reflect on the movies that annoyed the shit out of us. Welcome to Preview Review, everyone, and today I'm counting down my top 10 least favorite movies of 2014. Obviously, this is just my opinion. I know that there are going to be quite a few movies on this list that people won't agree with, but I'm pretty sure that there are going to be a few movies on this list that people will agree with. So with that said, let's get started.
Number 10.
Coming in at number 10, I have Neighbors. Now, of all the movies that I could have chosen for number 10, I chose Neighbors because despite the fact that it has a talented cast and that it did make me laugh out loud on several occasions, it was very unoriginal and the story was kind of choppy in certain places. And even though it was hilarious at certain moments, it wasn't as funny as I wanted it to be. So, Neighbors number 10.
Number 9.
Coming in at number 9, I have The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Granted, I did enjoy the action sequences in this movie, and Andrew Garfield is an awesome Spider-Man. He's both funny and serious. With that said, it's retelling the plot details that we already know while making the same mistakes that Spider-Man 3 made. It's flashy, repetitive, sometimes annoying, and there's an overabundance of characters that we don't care about, and probably could have been a lot better in a sequel. A sequel that I'm definitely not going to see.
Number 8.
You know what's worse than a bad sequel? A sequel showing the same damn thing as its predecessor. Enter 300: Rise of an Empire. Not to mention the fact that the original came out 7 years ago? Really? What the hell? What? I don't even remember 300. I had to watch 300 again before I went to go see this movie. Granted, this movie is bold for trying to connect it and the predecessor together, and the battle sequences are epic and very bloody. But with that said, it looks like the same movie, but out on the ocean. I'm getting tired of the slow motion photography in this movie and all other action movies. It's retreading all of the plot from the original 300 and adding nothing to it. Oh yeah, and that mud looks a lot like thick, sludgy mud.
Number 7.
Remember that one horror film from 2012 called Sinister with Ethan Hawke? Oh my god, that scared the shit out of me when I first saw it. Now 2 years later, we get Deliver Us from Evil. I was so hyped to see it. Yeah, sorry about that. Ran out of ideas. Granted, Deliver Us from Evil does have a very ominous atmosphere, but aside from that, not really much else to go off of. You can't just have a horror film with blood, guts, and gore and expect it to scare people. You have to actually try and scare them with legitimate fear and horror. And yeah, this movie tried, but failed miserably. Has a great soundtrack in it, though. I'll give it that. Welcome to the other side.
Number 6.
So it wasn't just the horror genre that was disappointing this year, it was also the comedy genre as well. Let's Be Cops proved that. And there's been quite a lot of controversy about the idea of police brutality and them overusing their power. So for this movie to come out when there's tension between citizens and the law, I thought that was perfect. I thought it would kind of release that barrier. I mean, yeah, it did have its moments, but it's just a complete mix of comedy cliches and way too many characters, and it didn't take advantage of the original idea that it had. About halfway through the movie, it had just completely lost its potential, and I was just sitting there in the theater waiting for it to end. Now we've come to a turning point in my top 10 list. The first few selections were okay-ish. I tolerated them. Now the gloves are off. Well, you get what I mean. And the next several selections are movies that I really wished I hadn't seen.
Number 5.
Coming in at number 5 is The Quiet Ones. Yeah, it was a shitty year for horror films. It really was. And I was subject to quite a few of them. Technically, it should be called the loud ones. I was not scared once in this movie. It had a few good creepy moments and the acting was good. That is about it. All the jump scares are just loud, unexpected, and annoying bangs that just get louder and louder as the movie progresses. And by the time the movie ends, you're just shaking in your seat in anger. Yes, I was shaking in my seat, not in fear, but in anger. And the plot of this movie doesn't even make sense. It doesn't go anywhere. Not to mention the fact that this movie switches from found footage to cinematic experience so randomly that it just got on my nerves so fast. Don't watch this movie. I will give props to the actress who was psychotic, I think. If they do a remake for The Exorcist, she's the candidate. Pick her, easily.
Number 4.
You know what everyone loved? VHS! That found footage horror film was awesome! It is to this day one of my favorite horror films of the 21st century. You know what everyone didn't like? Devil's Due! I had high hopes for this movie because the director of this movie directed the last segment of the first VHS movie. One of my favorite segments of all the VHS movies. That was an awesome segment. It scared the shit out of me. Why? You can't get more generic than this. It had nothing new to it whatsoever. I was scared maybe once or twice, and those were jump scares. And the first hour of this movie is boring. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Yoda in episode 2 of Star Wars, when he's slowly walking down the hallway toward Count Dooku. And then he pulls out his lightsaber, and you see that and you're like, what? So you wait all that time, and then you get this short 2-3 minute lightsaber battle, which is the only excitement you get through the entire movie. That's what this movie is like to me.